Okay, so we're going to be creating the drawing from problem 1-6 using the table that we created in class. If you haven't created this table yet, you can go back and look at the video that's saved in Canvas to go ahead and create this table. This is going to show you how we use absolute dimensions, relative dimensions, and polar dimensions. Before we start, I do want to talk a little bit about zoom and pan. So if I just make a line here, if I want to zoom, I can come over here and I can use this button. Right now it's set up for zoom extents, and I can change it to any of these scales here, any of these commands. Zoom in, zoom out, zoom on the object, zoom on the center. It defaults to zoom extents, and zoom extents will zoom to fill the screen with whatever you have in the drawing space. So everything you have in the drawing space will zoom will show up on the screen when you have zoom extents. So let's see what it does to this line. So what it does is it expands the line so it completely fills the screen. And then if I wanted to go back, I come over here and go to my zoom previous, and this will bring me back to where I was before. So you can see we can go back and forth. And I'm going to just go back to my zoom previous here. Okay, now pan is this button here, this little hand. And when you're in pan mode, when you click on the right mouse button, you see the hand closes. You can then essentially move the screen around. And this is used for centering. Now, generally, the only time we need to use these is if we don't have a 3-button mouse. And if you don't have a 3-button mouse, you really want to get one, because it is so much easier to zoom and pan if you have a 3-button mouse. So if I want to zoom with a 3-button mouse, all I have to do is roll my scroll bar, and I can easily zoom in and out. And this is obviously much, much quicker than doing anything over here. And I can easily zoom to any scale that I want. If I want to pan, all I have to do is push down on that scroll bar, and then I can move my whatever I want anywhere I want onto the screen. Remember, panning is sort of like, it's actually a TV term. It's like moving a camera around to change your view angle. So it's like moving a camera so that I'm looking at what's over here, I'm looking at what's over here. All right, so let's get to the drawing. So just going to take one quick look at the drawing before we start. We are otherwise not going to look at the drawing because we've created all the dimensions with the table. So we only have to really look at the table itself. Reminder, this arrow here tells us that the absolute dimension here is 2, 2. And what that means is that somewhere down here there's a 0, 0. This isn't to scale, so that's not necessarily exactly where it is. It's probably down here somewhere, but it really doesn't matter. So it's somewhere down here. So this is our line. So we choose line, and then we could just type 2, 2 right here. We could come down here and start typing here. Since we're going to be using absolute dimensions, we are going to be typing into the text box, so we're going to stay in the text box. A reminder, the text box does not work like a Windows text box. As soon as you move the mouse button out of the text box, you're no longer in the text box. So you can't just click in it and start typing, and if you move the mouse, you're still in it. So what you want to do is you want to just kind of click on it and then move your mouse out here somewhere, out of the way. Don't ever touch it again. This is another reason why you want a mouse. You need to have a 3-button mouse, because if you're using a laptop, you might accidentally touch the scroll bar or touch the mouse pad and move that cursor, and then you're going to come out of the text box. All right, so we want to start at 2, 2. We're just going to type it, hit enter. You can see we've started a line, and it actually shows the line to where our cursor first left the drawing area. To put the next line in, and I guess here I've got to come over here and move, I do have to move the mouse box to come over here so we can see what's next. I'm going to come back here, come back into the box, stay here. Our next point is 2, 5, so I'm going to type 2, 5, enter. You can see it draws our next line, and then 7.25, 5, enter. I'm just going to work my way around. 7.25, 2, and 2, 2. And that completes the outside of the box. I'm going to hit escape. Now I'm going to zoom to extents. Zoom to extents is the one it's good, because typically what you can do is zoom to extents and then use the scroll bar to zoom down by 1. And that usually gives you a pretty good view of the drawing. So the next thing I'm going to do is start the inner box. So the inner box is at 2.75, 2.75. We'll get rid of that. So we click on line. We come down here. We type 2.75, 2.75. And then again, we just start typing the dimensions. Each time we type a dimension, we hit enter. 2.75, 4.25, enter. 4, 4.25. It's not necessary to type those trailing zeros. Now, if you make a mistake, if you see down here, you see U for undo, you can type that, and then we'll undo the last line. And then you just have to correct it. So that was the 4, I'm sorry, yeah. Let's see, what was that? That was the 4, 4.25. So 4, 4.25, we'll put that back. Now, there's also an undo up here. But if you undo this undo, or if you hit this undo, it undoes the whole line. So take note of that and be careful about that. There's a difference. So let me start that over. 2.75, 2.75, 2.75, 4.25, 4, 4.25, 4, 3.75, 5.25, 3.75, 5.25, 4.25, 6.5, 4.25, 6.5, 2.75. You can see somewhere, as I was reading dimensions, not looking at what I was drawing, I made a mistake, and I'm going to back these out. And that happens. And this is one of the reasons why I don't edit my videos at all, because I'm going to make the same mistakes that you're probably going to make. So here I should be at, let's see, that is going to be at 4, 2.75, 4, 3.75. So now I need to be at 5.25, 3.75. 5.25, 3.75. 5.25, 4.25. And there I went up too far. I hit 5.25 comma 5.25. So I undo again. 5.25 comma 4.25. And then we're 6.5 comma 4.25. 6.5 comma 2.75. 5.25 comma 2.75. 5.25 comma 3.25. 4 comma 3.25. 4 comma 2.75, and then finally 2.75 comma, not sure if I hit a comma there, comma 2.75. Enter. Okay, so remember, when you make a mistake, you can hit U to undo and go backwards. I hit escape. If I wanted to save this, I can do File, Save As, and then save it. Massasoit 107 class, Spring 21. Call this 1-6. Absolute. And if you've noticed, I'm doing this a bit different than the one that I did in class, potentially. I'm now going to delete this. So to delete, you hit the mouse button once, you then move, make a box, hit the mouse button again to select. You can then hit delete. Now, relative dimensions. You start in the exact same method, exact same way. You hit line, you type your starting point, 2 comma 2. After that, when you're typing into the box up here, not into the text box, but out here, you don't actually need to type the @ symbol. However, I recommend you always do. The reason is sometimes you need the @ symbol for relative dimensions, sometimes you don't. But if you always use it, if you get into the habit of always using it, you'll never forget. So it becomes easier if you just always use it. So here we don't have to go into the text box at all. So here we can type @0 comma 3. And again, I'm just using the dimensions here. At 5.25 comma 0. At 0 comma -3. At -5.25 comma 0. Enter. I hit escape, and then I start the inside in the same way. I start line again, 2.75 comma 2.75. Enter, and then we type @0 comma 1.5. At 1.25 comma 0. At 0 comma -0.5. At 1.25 comma 0. At 0 comma 0.5. At 1.25 comma 0. At -1.5. I'm sorry, this is at 0 comma -1.5. At -1.25 comma 0 at 0 comma 0.5 at minus 1.25 comma 0 at 0 comma minus 0.5. So here again we're just typing in the relative motions that we're taking. So we're as we're going around here, each step is either 0.5, 1.25, or 1.5, and then it's either positive or negative. So this last one is minus 1.25, and it's in the x dimension, so it's going to be first. So we type at minus 1.25, comma 0. And that ends the drawing. And again, if we wanted to save this one, file, save as 1.6 relative, save. Now, it's absolutely true. There's no way that you can tell the difference for how one of these was created. So it really doesn't matter. And in doing the homework, you only actually have to hand in one version. If you hand in all three, that's great, but just one is fine. Now for the polar, let me just move this over a little bit. Again, it's the same way, and we start in the exact same way. So we type 2, comma 2, enter. And then we type at 3 less than 90, then at 5.25 less than 0, at 3 less than, here we could type 270 minus 3 at 90. I generally like 3 at minus 90. 3 less, and actually I did this one wrong because it's not letting me put in the angle because I started typing a number, I guess. So I'm going to just type 1. It's going to be wrong. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to type U for undo, hit return, and then we're going to come up and fix it. So we're going to type 3 less than minus 90, and then at 5.25 less than 180. And really, although I'm saying less than, I really should be saying at an angle of. But the key that you type is less than. So that's the reason why I'm saying less than. So at an angle of 180 degrees. Hit escape. And then, again, we start the inside in the same manner as all the others. We have to type the starting point, 2.75, comma 2.75. And what did I type? I typed at 0.75, comma 2.75. So apparently I got into the, in addition to typing wrong, yeah, I held down the shift key. That was my problem. Let's start that over. 2.75, comma 2.75. Okay, so we start there, and then we type at 1.5 at an angle of 90, at 1.25 at an angle of 0, at 0.5 at an angle of minus 90, at 1.25 at an angle of 0, at 0.5 at an angle of 90, and these two lines that I put in over here and here are the reason I like using minus 90 and plus 90, because minus 90 is up, plus 90 is down. Excuse me, plus 90 is up, minus 90 is down. So here we're at 1.25 at an angle of 0, and then at 1.5 at an angle of minus 90. Now, it doesn't work the other way. You can't put an angle of minus 0 to show that you're going backwards in the x dimension. At least I don't think you can. How you could put minus, I could put minus 1.25 at an angle of 0, and that would be another way to do it. Ultimately, it doesn't matter, whatever you're comfortable with. And that's the thing about AutoCAD. There's pretty much 100 ways, or many different ways, to do anything that you want. Okay, so anyway, this one is 1.25 at an angle of 180. So 1.25 at an angle of 180. And now we're 0.5 at an angle of 90. And 1.25 at an angle of 180. And 0.5 at an angle of minus 90, and then finally 1.25 at an angle of 180. And that finishes the third drawing, and again we could save this, save as polar. And again, realistically, as I said, there's no way you can tell the difference between one version and the next.